know who the Gino is? The face of above spirituality.
Episode 5, and we are not in our usual filming location today, are we, Alexander?
I feel like we're in your domain.
Yeah, we are. You could say that.
This is his domain, the place he's always been talking about, the School of Metaphysics.
Yeah,
Here.
we are filming today from the Palatine branch of the School of Metaphysics. This place has been my spiritual home for a long time, about 10 years now. Here I'm a student, I'm a teacher, and I'm currently volunteering as the branch director.
Mm-hmm. Kind of leading the way. So what happened? Like, we came in here, and a few people came in, and he basically leads a meditation and kind of explain what you do.
We tonight we did a short course. This was a meditation short course. It was a 4-week class. I really am proud of this one because it's one I came up with. It does. We do meditation and concentration, meditation and relaxation, which I'm going to change to meditation and surrender, meditation and prayer, which is what we did tonight, and then next class will be meditation, putting it all together. So, here at the school, we do a number of activities, but it is a school. So, we teach short courses, focus topics, 4 to 10 weeks usually. And then we have our applied metaphysics class, which is like our main program that does like everything under the sun. That's like, I've probably mentioned it on the channel before.
I highly enjoyed it.
Yeah. I heard. Yeah, you were. I heard you. You said you were taking a little nap during the meditation.
It's been a very long day for me, but like I started the meditation, I was focused, I was on everything, and before I knew it, I was doing the whoa. I woke up, but I got right back to my concentration, and I felt deeply rested.
See, because a lot of people don't know that, or it's just so obvious you take it for granted that meditation is actually a concentration exercise. Mm-hmm. Concentration is, in addition to being one of the core tenets of what we try to teach here at the School of Metaphysics, something that, has been a journey for me to learn, and I probably need to even redouble my efforts on. But concentration is one of the core tenets of Raja Yoga, where they call it dharana, and of the Eightfold Path of the Buddha, the right concentration, or I think they might call it the right samadhi. I could be wrong on what I'm quoting, but these are important spiritual virtues. And of course, in meditation, even though I'm sure you and all of our viewers have had experiences where you kind of doze off during meditation, really you're trying to focus and become more and more aware, which is the practice.
If I wasn't so exhausted, I would be there.
I totally believe you.
But it was a longer meditation. It was like 25 or 30 minutes.
It's about 25 minutes.
So I took probably a 3-minute hard snooze or something. But the rest of it, I was very tapped in. And
hey, man, good for you, man. That non-sleep, deep rest, that's some of the best things you can do for yourself. Sadly, doesn't replace real sleep. I wish.
But for people like me and other people that are on doctor hours, shifts-wise and just work-wise, that little bit goes a long way.
Yeah. So you see, here at the school, which has been my main spiritual practice for a long time, we try to teach people, what we say our ideal is to aid any individual willing to put forth the effort to become a whole functioning self, not dependent on any person, place, or thing, for peace, contentment, and security. So that's a mouthful. But that's, you could say that's like our mission statement. So, like I said, we do our short courses, we do community events, we do volunteering, and we even do some really amazing stuff with peace. Like what you see behind us is we have this whole focus on peace where we made a proclamation proclaiming that the midnight hour from 11:30 p.m. December 31st to 12:30 a.m. January 1st is a universal hour of peace. And behind us are some of the villages and towns, so which you can't see it. Even the state of Illinois made that proclamation. Every morning, there's a reading of this beautiful document we made. I'll talk about that later. We also do a lot of stuff with dreams and dream interpretation. In the near future, I'm really excited. I'll have my good friend Mike Maffa, who leads our National Dream webinar, on the show, and we'll talk about dreams. But we do that for free. But our main thing is our applied metaphysics class. That is a class, a program really, that I've been a part of nonstop for the last 10 years.
That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah. Yeah. I really take it slow. You could go faster if you wanted, but it's really kind of at the pace of the class. I'm not very attached to, getting my certificates or reaching certain places in the lessons. It's, in a lot of ways for me, it's more just it's like church for me. It's where I go, I talk to my friends, we talk about what we do.
And that's super healthy in itself. And it's not something you want to rush per se. Every person has their own speed as it goes, but it's very much so a thing of you can tell somebody or show somebody something once, but it takes time to actually get it. And be one with it,
Yeah, what I always tell people when they're interested in joining the school, taking the applied metaphysics class, they say, well, how long does it take? And I say, well, okay, if you're super disciplined and you're doing out all the things that are asked of you, about a year to hit the first milestone, the big milestone.
And that's hard in itself.
Yeah, a lot of people don't do it in a year. I didn't. I took longer than a year. But the truth is, I always tell people, stay as long as you want. It's a program that does have some rules and some levels of commitment. You can't miss 2 weeks in a row without valid reasons. Namely because you're in a cohort, other people are moving with you, and we're asking you to commit to yourself and to stick with it. But I tell people, hey, some people stay for a month or two. Some people stay up to lesson 10 because then you get what you call an intuitive report, which people might more know it as an Akashic record reading. We do your past life reading. Some people stay half a year. Some people stay, until they get that milestone. They complete the first cycle of lessons. Other people are like me. They're like, I love this. I want to stay here for a very long time. I want to teach the class. I want to live in the building because you can live in the building.
You lived in the building.
I lived here.
Fully committed.
Yeah, I lived here for about 4 years. It was awesome. As long as you're a volunteer teacher, and obviously, there's some rules. You can't just do whatever you want. But I was a young man. I got to move out of my parents' place. It was $250 a month.
That seems pretty ideal for something you want to do.
Oh my God.
Desire to do.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, the program itself is really comprehensive. It can be rigorous at times. And it covers every area under the sun of basic spiritual practices, metaphysical worldview. I always tell people it covers just about everything other than energy healing. We don't teach Reiki. We have our own kind of practice, which just is the only area in more modern spiritual practice that we don't really dive into. There are people in my school who are very into it. The school itself, that's the only thing. And we're non-denominational. We have teachings from all the major religions.
Who started is this a brand all around the nation? Is this a one of one? What is it's a franchise?
This is a branch.
Yeah.
We call them branches. The school started in, I forget what year, in 74, I want to say, by a guy named Jerry Rothermel, him and his sisters. They were actually studying Akashic record readings, the stuff that Edgar Cayce pioneered. They were coming up with their own technique for it, and they were giving out the readings. They were teaching people lessons, and they developed this kind of following, and eventually they were like, hey, you guys should take this stuff and make a school out of it, which they eventually did. So right now I think we have 10 or 11 branches.
Yeah, when I was Googling, I saw a bunch. I was like, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all over the Midwest mainly. They started in Springfield, Missouri, so we have 4 locations in Springfield, 3 up in here in Illinois. So not in Springfield, 3 in Missouri, that is. And then we're in Texas, we're in Iowa, Kansas, We've had branches as far out as like Cincinnati, and like I think there was even one in like Colorado they did at one point. It was bigger back in the day, and we're hoping to get back to that.
Is that something in your control? Would you be a guy that like emails somebody in Idaho?
Well, actually, it's funny you ask, because right now I have been leading a project out here in Illinois. Illinois is really unique because we have 3 branches in Illinois. For anyone who's familiar with the area, we have the one out here in Palatine, which is by like the Woodfield Mall. We have one in Bolingbrook, which is a more southern suburb, kind of by Naperville for anyone who knows the area. And then we have one in Portage Park, which is a neighborhood of Chicago. And Illinois is the only place where there are like, where you could drive to all 3 branches in a state in like an afternoon, barring traffic. So I've been leading a project with my friends, my team, my area director, the other directors in the area, the teachers, all volunteer, by the way. We're restructuring how we do things out here. We're kind of uniting. Instead of having 3 separate branches, we're, I guess you could say, like rebranding as Illinois School of Metaphysics. And that's a project I'm in charge of right now. Everyone's contributing. I just am what we call the directing intelligence is what we like to call it.
Metaphysics, when I Googled the term, there was a few different ways to define the metaphysics. There's like complex versions and simple terms. How would you, in just simple terms, you're talking to a new student, hey, boom.
The simplest way to understand what is meant by metaphysics, especially for our purposes, is it's the study of the stuff that is beyond the physical. Namely, it is the study of how your mind and spirit affect the universe, and how the universe affects your mind and spirit. To go a little deeper, it comes from Aristotle, actually, when he wrote the Metaphysica, which was obviously another form of classic philosophy. It was one of his major works, where meta, meaning above, and then physica, meaning like physical. So it is study of what is above the physical. For practical purposes, the School of Metaphysics specifically, we're a non-denominational spiritual school. Literally, you would call us a mystery school in the literal sense of the word, or I guess in the classical sense of the word.
So, well put. So, 2 questions or so in this question. What drew you here as a young man, right? And then now, reflecting 10 years later, what keeps you here? What have you learned? And what have you wished you would have known back in your earlier days?
I found the school when I was about 20 years old. I was at the University of Illinois, which was a big party school. I was drinking a lot. And I was studying business, so I was in a very nice school. I was doing well in the business college. And I was struggling with some of the deepest and most pervasive depression of my life. Even though I devote a lot of time to like partying and trying to make that work, I was in a fraternity. I was, at U of I, you could go to the bars when you're like 19, which is insane.
Fake IDs.
You didn't even need one.
Yeah.
You just walked in, 19.
This is totally kind of in the pocket. One time at Western, I was 18, and I had a fake ID just on my friend, and he's full on Mexican, and the guy was just like, psh, come on.
Exactly.
All right, cool.
And I wasn't getting any of the things I wanted. I wasn't connecting with people. I wasn't finding love. I wasn't finding meaning. And when I found the school, I'll tell this whole story some other time. I was actually drunk. I had just shotgunned to Four Loko.
That's tough.
Oh, a 20-year-old me? It was 21-year-old me, 20-year-old me. It was a different animal.
I was doing that at South Padre, Texas, spring break.
But I was going to there was a free B.O.B. concert on the quad, and there was this guy there. This younger guy. Yeah. There was this younger guy, with this long blonde hair, a good friend of mine, Scott Hilburn, and he just said, hey, do you want a free dream journal? And I mean, just scold the Four Loko. I was like, yeah, free shit. And then I saw that it said School of Metaphysics on it. And I was like, I've seen this sign going around. And I was like, what is a metaphysics? And he explained what the school is. And I'd love to dive into this a little later. But one of the big things we do is we try to teach and encourage people to have spiritual practice, to actually do exercises.
Practical.
Like yoga, essentially. To do yoga exercises, not necessarily stretching. Including meditation, which is a core exercise. And he described the various exercises that they did, and I had this wild experience. I remember being like 10, like 11, 12, being an angsty kid, not really enjoying my life, and I remember I'd be in my room. I spent a lot of time in my room, and I'd be frustrated with myself, and I'd think like, oh, I should do these things to like train my mind, and like things like meditation, or like writing down my goals, or like trying to look at a picture and then like close my eyes until I could see it. And those were like literally the exercises that he said they did. And I was like, oh my God. And so I went to like the first class and I spoke to this beautiful woman. Her name's Pam Blosser. I love this woman dearly. And you know what I told her? I said I wanted to be a wizard.
I could totally see it.
And I meant it too. And she was so nice. She heard me say these crazy things. And
like a gnome in a garden or something?
Yeah. And she said, you know, I see you want to have psychic experiences, but we need to ground you first. And I just remember thinking, yes. And then I remember thinking, but what does like grounded actually mean? And in answer to your second question, that's what kept me here. Was that I found, and even though I'm actually starting to reconnect with some of these more, I guess you could say, astral or fun or wizard-like experiences, if you want to call them that, the true spirituality is grounded. It is being connected to yourself, exploring virtue, fulfilling the things that you want to get out of life, learning to express yourself, learning to be healthy, learning who you are, learning what actually makes the world the way it is. And it's been both discovering that in myself and having the chance to share that with other people. That's kept me here the last 10 years, even though, you know, there's been times I thought like, am I done with this place? I've been here a while, but that's what always keeps me back, keeps me here when I'm like contemplating, do I want to do other things? Thus far, I keep finding meaning in it.
That's everything it should be. Like, don't fight you love doing it, and you love it, and you're a good teacher guy too.
Oh, well, thank you.
You know, you made an hour and a half feel quick, and that's hard to do, you know.
Yeah, I feel the most whole when I'm expressing myself in a teaching capacity before a group, and when I can give spiritual guidance and I can share the things that I was gifted with, just like memory. You know, I hear teachings and I remember them, and I hope I understand them, but at least I remember them and I can share them. That really completes me. You know, my teacher, who I would love to be on the guest on the show soon, Carrie Keller, you know, he often would encourage us, the students, the teachers, to think like, what did we get out of staying here? Like, what do we get out of our spiritual practice? Our time in the School of Metaphysics. Why would you want to do it? Like, why would you want to write down your dreams in the morning and try to interpret them? Why would you want to stare at a candle and learn to concentrate? Why would you fast on only fruits and vegetables like 1 or 2 days a week? You know, why would you donate your time to practice metaphysics? You know, why would you read these lessons like over and over and over? And I think I got a really good answer for what I got out of all of this. And it's something I've shared before, but it's something that I really encourage the viewers to seek in some form of spiritual practice. I feel more like myself and the person I always knew I was, more so than ever in my life. It's like I aged, not physically, but in wisdom, more quickly. And I tell you, that as a grounded, very spiritual experience, that is so good. To just be who you are with less and less resistance.
It feels like the harder you work to be a better person, just life gets easier.
Yeah, for as much as, discipline hasn't always been my strongest suit, the exercises haven't always been my strongest suit. There's an element of spiritual practice, and you could say metaphysical study, at least as I know it, that is just a virtue. And that's a huge thing in Christianity, obviously. A lot of Christian faiths don't even have practices, but we talked about that. And just by, like in school metaphysics, they say you got to choose your thoughts. You got to think about the person who you want to be and create that person. You got to visualize that person. And, you have to know universal laws like karma, like prosperity, like service. These things cause you to grow. And it's so worth it. I like crystals. I'm wearing crystals. I'm not super knowledgeable in astrology. I like knowing that I'm an Aquarius. I love stuff like Reiki and sound healing and massage. But the element of spirituality that you will get the most out of is going deep with yourself. And one thing that I do, even though it's something I need to grow on, have learned through the school and know to be true, is that, practices, exercises, some discipline that you do your best to do every day, in addition to that like inner sort of mental and self-reflective work. That is one of the greatest ways to grow spiritually.
Facts. Like facts. There's not much of a question or answer to that. It's just I feel like you put a bow on that.
I really encourage, anyone who happens to find their way onto this video, sits through it as a member of the channel. Those 80 subscribers, that's small, but for me that's huge.
Well, here, put 80 people in this room, it's packed.
Yeah, right. I really can't emphasize enough like how good it is to find yourself a community that makes sense to you. If it's the school, we'll talk a little bit later how you could get involved. If you're near a branch, or even if you're not, or otherwise. I'm not going to sit here and say my school, which I love, is the only way to raise in consciousness or get closer to enlightenment. That's a lie. I like it. But there's just something so powerful to having like a community, a structure, practices. You might not always agree with all the practices. Some might be easier than others. Some you might look at and be like, I'm not doing that. And one thing I love about the school is that there's teachers. We would say our activity is teaching teachers. And it's like, sometimes it maybe feels like pretentious to be like a spiritual teacher. But I love it. I love being a spiritual teacher. And, you'll have teachers here at the school or in life that are like, they're not better than you as people. Sometimes your spiritual teachers, you might even arrogantly or correctly believe, are at a lower place in consciousness than you. But one thing that's so nice about having a teacher, regardless of where they are in, their spiritual growth, is that they watch you. They observe you. They say, hey, Alexander, you said you really wanted to grow in like forgiveness or discipline. Well, have you noticed you do this? Your mind will hide certain things for you, but, your teacher, they're just watching you. And then on top of that, when there's like a program and there's like exercises and stuff, these teachers have done or at least tried to do what you're doing. So, they can give you guidance on that path. And that's really valuable, because when you're growing spiritually, you're going to have challenges. that are run of the mill. We call them initiations here at the school. And it's so useful to have a teacher be like, oh, that happened to me. Or a classmate, like a friend who's like, yeah, either I'm going through that or you know what? I'm not really going through that, but hey, what about this? And that's one of the most sacred parts of my community here.
And it's a community, you know. Just by you talking to them, it felt so much deeper than just going to a class. It felt like a real connection and like a real back and forth, not just hey blah blah blah. This is how you do things, but like you listen to their concerns or questions, and it felt like you were learning from them at the same time too. Like
Definitely.
It's funny how you said that because blah blah blah. So it's a very it's not like a class like what's that? It's like it's a mixture of all good worlds.
As a teacher, two really awesome things get to happen. One, it's like what Jesus said in the Bible. You're going to be before the judge and you won't know what to say. And that's when the Spirit will speak for you. All my friends who are teachers here have always said, you're sitting in the teacher's chair, you're explaining a lesson, or one of your students asks you a question, and all of a sudden you say something so brilliant. You're like, where the hell did that come from? You should say, where the heaven did that come from? Mm. And then the other thing is you have a chance to learn from the students. A lot of the people who get attracted into these kind of classes, they're not dummies. They're angels and bodhisattvas too. They have valuable things to share. And even if they don't share something valuable, just by observing them, I learn. But yeah, even though this is a school and we have classes and you do like lectures or workshops and, other stuff, and anyone who checks out our video the film part of this interview later, our classrooms are never like traditional looking. Our schools are for the most part always out of houses that we own. Classrooms don't have like a desk or something. There'll be some comfortable chairs or a couch. So it is both a school and it's different.
Feels better that way though. I don't think I'd feel as comfortable if it was like a school.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd want couches and cool rugs and pillows and.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more comfortable.
And one thing that really I would say distinguishes us from like traditional education, which I also value highly. I mean, I really want to be a professor one day, is that we try to teach and put an emphasis on experiences. Information is valuable. Information can change your life. Just because you've heard a teaching can open you up to so many things that you can immediately apply and use. Yet, and they write about this in certain spiritual texts, there's a trap that sometimes just having heard about a teaching, your ego settles on that. And it's like, that's enough. Kind of gets off on it. But what we, as the teachers in the community, always try to do, this is why we're so exercise oriented, is we really want the students to have experiences. I always tell my students, you shouldn't believe me just because I say it, because maybe I'm a fancy speaker, or like I'm sitting in a slightly taller chair than you, or because I've been here for a while, or I sound very confident, because confident people will influence you. And that's not always valuable to you. You should try these things out for yourself. It's my hope that if you give these things a fair shot, you apply them in your life, you will have experiences that will show you the truth of these things. And that is such like, we always talk about this at our like teachers meetings and our retreats and stuff. Like that's what we want for students, whether they stay here and they take the applied class, they're just part of the extended community, or just any spiritual person. That's what we want. We want school metaphysics. We want people to have experiences and to know things are true for themselves, not just because they read it in a book or saw it on the Above Spirituality channel.
It's good to do this stuff in real life too. So if I was a student just like you at 20 years old, I wanted to join and become part of the community, how do I do that?
So there's two ways to get involved with the School of Metaphysics. One, if you happen to live near one of the cities where we have branches, which are Palatine, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, Bolingbrook, Illinois, Indianapolis, Indiana, obviously, Maplewood, Missouri, which is basically St. Louis, Columbia, Missouri, where the university, where Mizzou is, Springfield, Missouri, Windyville, where our college of metaphysics is. That's like basically in the Ozarks. Dallas, Texas. I think our Tulsa, Oklahoma school actually just closed, but maybe Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oklahoma City. Yeah, Tulsa closed. Oklahoma City. Kansas City in Kansas, but obviously if you're in the Missouri side, you're not that far. And then in Des Moines, Iowa. Check it out. Reach out to the branch. Send them an email or a call. We're just starting to really get our social media back in order. You could check us out online. Our website is a work in progress. It's not something I super love, but we're doing this big project to change it up. You can go to som.org, which is super easy. Just som.org/connect is a really great way to find out what's going on in the Illinois area. Or som.org. Just please be patient with us. We're getting the website better. Then you can find out about what's going on in person. You could take one of our short courses, or you could see if they're starting an applied metaphysics class, which is an amazing program. It is for people who are looking to commit themselves. They're looking to be a part of something for a time, either a short time or a long time. And, just be prepared that it's something to commit to. It's worth it. It's tough at times, but it's worth it. Then if you wanted to go online, there's 3 great ways to get involved. On the website, you could check out our correspondence class. That's basically the applied class, but just on Zoom. It's a little less rigorous. You're still going to meet once a week. You'll have classmates from around the country, possibly from around the world. You could also get involved at our ancillary programs, dreamschool.org. Every Wednesday night from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Central Time. My dear friend Mike Maffa, he's going to be on the show soon. He runs a webinar where you can get your dreams interpreted. There's a whole panel of experts. He's in the other room, and a little shout out to Mike Maffa. Yeah, he might not be able to get on because we have microphones, but he'll be on the show soon. He's laughing if that doesn't get caught by the mic. But anyway, yeah, 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time. He's cultivated a panel of experts. They'll interpret your dreams, and that's for free. And then every morning, usually around 7:30 a.m. Central Time, at another website called peacedome.org, and we'll link this in the description, there is a reading of this beautiful document called the Universal Peace Covenant. Every single morning, I think they're on over 1,000 days straight. You can check them out online and on Facebook too. And sometimes they do the readings a little later in the day. And those are some of the ways to get involved. So, yeah, I recommend most highly of all, if you're anywhere near one of our in-person locations, check us out. Be patient with us because, we're all volunteer and some of us are a little lower. We're in the process of regrowing. But, come check us out and hopefully we can get you involved.
That's a good way to wrap.
Yeah. Want to thank everyone for their time. This is episode 5. We look forward to you soon in the next one.
You want to talk to this guy?
No. We'll do a full interview with Mike some other time. Maybe like an hour interview.